And look, everyone, Vinny's back.
Hey guys, I'm back. All right, so I told you guys last week I would be starting this week to review all 6 Star Wars films leading up to Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. So today, we will be starting with Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. So in The Phantom Menace, 2 Jedi, known as Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi, are sent to protect Queen Amidala of the Naboo system from the evil Trade Federation. On their way to the planet Coruscant, they come across a young Anakin Skywalker, who is a slave on the planet Tatooine. He may or may not be the chosen one who will bring balance to the Force. Before Anakin can begin his training, the 2 Jedi must confront rumors of the evil dark side of the Force returning to exact their revenge on the Jedi.
Since this is a retrospective review, I want to know what are your thoughts on how people were approaching this film, given that it was almost a decade and a half since the previous Star Wars film, and then they see this film. What do you think was going through their minds, and what do you think, well, as you're going to learn later, went wrong?
Yeah, that is the big thing. Just working off my excitement for The Force Awakens, I want to put myself in the perspective of the people back then. Like, I'm sure being without a Star Wars film for almost 20 years, people would be overjoyed to know that they're getting another Star Wars film, and you know, sure, it's not with our old characters that we knew, but it's a new Star Wars film, and just to know that we're exploring another part of this universe is exciting. And I'm sure people's expectations were very high. However, that was easily toned down after they saw the movie and realized what happened.
Yes.
What happened. So to start this off, I think the main person to blame, God love him, George Lucas. Now, we have to remember that George Lucas, he created the Star Wars franchise. Without him, there'd be no original trilogy. However, he is not a writer, and he is a parkour director in modern times. The main issue I have with this film is his direction with the actors. They are very, very just, I beg you to help us. Oh, my name is it's just uninspired acting.
Bland.
Really bland. It took me out of the movie. And Anakin Skywalker. Who hired that kid? Who hired that kid to act? He can't act. I'm sorry, but he can't act. Also, the writing is very, very like atypical.
Hackneyed.
Just hacky, clicky, just it doesn't work very well. That goes into the pacing, terrible pacing. We jump from one planet to the next within like 5-minute to 20-minute gaps, and it's very hard to follow. Underdeveloped villains. That's another thing I have an issue with. We're introduced to the Emperor before the original trilogy, and we sort of know this character, what his motives are, what he's doing. However, he has a new apprentice, and it's not Darth Vader, it's Darth Maul. Now, Darth Maul comes in, he has some great lightsaber battles, but that's about it. We only hear him say maybe 2 sentences in the entire movie, and that's it. And it was disappointing for me because I was interested in this character. Like, what is he doing here? How did he get here? Why is he helping the Emperor? Why is he helping the Sith?
Yeah, it's a shame he had to go out so soon.
Then he dies. Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah. However,
that is not a spoiler alert, by the way.
Everybody knows
shouldn't
that.
be. Yeah, people have seen this film.
Yes, people have seen this film. If you want to know what happens to Darth Maul, spoiler, he lives in the Star Wars: The Clone Wars TV series, which you can check out on Netflix anyways. Jar Jar Binks. Everybody hates Jar Jar Binks. I don't have as much hate for him as normal people would, simply because he does his job. He was there in the movie to be comic relief, and that's what he does. He does some really unforgivably stupid things in the movie, let's be honest.
He does.
But he does his job, and his job is to just be there to bring the kids in, be a humorous character that we can just laugh at.
Yeah.
And he does do some good. He unites the Naboo together with the Gungan army, and they're able to restore peace among their planet, because the two alliances weren't exactly against each other, they just didn't want to help each other.
Yeah, I've been sort of annoyed with how people have been treating this character in hindsight. He has often been treated as like carrying all the blame for the film's low quality. He's not. He's a symptom of the film's low quality. He's one bad element out of many bad elements.
Exactly.
And the true censor of all the offense that derives from this film is George Lucas, and derives from his inability to write well. And he's a guy who really should be devoted to the visual side of things and delegate the more minute screenwriting. But here he's director, he's producer, he's writer, he's executive producer. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he swept up After Hours as well. He just was involved way too much in this entire film and kind of obsessed with the business side as opposed to the quality of the artistic side. By the way, what are your thoughts on the visual side of it? I mean, George Lucas has built up a reputation as being a visual master. How does this compare?
Yes, the visual master he is, and it is a beautiful film. I mean, if you really think about it, like we've never experienced Star Wars in full-blown like modern technology. I mean, sure, at the time the practical effects were modern technology, but we have this new technology, CGI, and implementing that into Star Wars, it was really believable at the time. It looked really cool. So a lot of cool visuals, a lot of hints at what's to come when these films go on into the original trilogy. I really love that. But yeah, very beautiful. From the planets to the fights in space, to just everything. Everything is just, every little detail is just beautiful. Would you agree?
Well, the visual side of it, I would hold back on it. I'd prefer the practical effects. When it comes to CGI, it's one of those things that you really have to... In practical effects, you could make it look imperfect and it would still look real. But when it comes to CGI, if you're going to make it look realistic, you have to have a sense of perfection, because there's that case with the uncanny valley. The closer you get to perfection, the more unrealistic it's going to be. And unfortunately, I have to disagree with you on that. And I don't think it necessarily has to do with like landscapes and images of planets in the film. It has more to do with like Jar Jar Binks, characters, CGI characters in the frame. They don't exactly sit well with all the other elements in the frame. They don't look as if they're fully enmeshed in the composition. And someone made this comparison about how, like James Cameron with Avatar, he said he wanted to wait a good decade before he got that film off the ground, knowing that the technology, while it's good, it's not good enough yet. I'd say George Lucas should have waited technology-wise, because there's still sort of that disconnect between what the technology could have done and what it actually achieves in the film. So I think it's kind of mixed. Closer in detail, I think it actually looks more flawed than it does. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Like comparing that to now, where our effects are 10 times better, as you say with Avatar, definitely. But I think with some elements work better than others. I guess I'll say that in response to that. Also, more good on this film. It sets up a lot. We get to learn about Anakin Skywalker and his where he's about to go in order to become the Jedi we know, who is supposed to be the chosen one, and then eventually who will become Darth Vader. There's a lot of setup, and even with Obi-Wan Kenobi, who's one of my favorite characters in the Star Wars saga, I loved seeing him in there, and he was like one of the connective tissues that really like helped me transition into this new world, besides R2-D2 and C-3PO, who, like, you can't make a Star Wars film without R2-D2 and C-3PO. So that's one thing that I commend them for getting right. That's a good thing, very good thing.
Well, then here's another sort of point of contention. As much as Obi-Wan is there, as much as C-3PO and R2-D2 are there, I don't think The Phantom Menace really set up these characters to as well as what would eventually happen in Attack of the Clones. We set the timeline in reference to the original trilogy so far back that there's very little connection with it. Obi-Wan Kenobi, he is really the only true connection back to the original trilogy. And the thing is, since he's not the main character, we are forced to have to relate to characters that are not that well developed, and then some of them are even gone by the end of this first film. And not only does it make Attack of the Clones more like a reunion film, but it makes The Phantom Menace seem less as a proper setup and more of a prequel. It set itself far too back.
Sure, I can understand that. Understand that. I think what you said, that it definitely sets up the universe. And I think and
Lucas is good at doing that.
Definitely. So
it's just where he organizes them.
Yeah,
that's where he sucks.
I think that's the key thing that happens here, is that we set up the universe. In the second film, we get to more details of what's coming, and then in the third film, we get what's coming.
Okay.
It comes, and we're here.
So, do you think this is the worst Star Wars film?
Without a doubt. If you don't count the animated Star Wars, The Attack of the Clones, or Star Wars, The Clone Wars animated film that was released in 2007, I believe, it's the worst Star Wars film ever. The thing that kills it for me is just the acting. Somebody, I don't know who casted Anakin Skywalker, but that was a terrible idea. George Lucas does not know how to direct actors. God bless him, he does not know how to direct actors. And even with people like Qui-Gon Jinn, who was played by Liam Neeson, and Ewan McGregor, like Natalie Portman, great talent, just very mediocre, sort of almost numb performances.
Goes back on the direction.
Exactly. So to sum this up, this film is the worst Star Wars film ever. This could change with The Force Awakens, but I doubt it. But for now, it's the worst Star Wars film ever. But don't just push it aside. Take time to realize what went into this film, and what good it has. Because there is quite a lot of good in this. Just like there is some good in Darth Vader, there is some good in this.
Yeah. I'd say also some good that comes out of it would be to see what ego does to a filmmaker, what George Lucas does.
That's good, yeah.
To sort of answer the question that I asked you, is this the worst Star Wars film? I would say no. I'm more of the opinion that Attack of the Clones is the worst Star Wars film. Not necessarily, not in the point that I hate it. It's more like I hate it so much that I actually love it now because it's so bad. The reason why I think that'll be for another review, but
that'll be for next week.
The thing about The Phantom Menace that I do think it does have precedence over Attack of the Clones, I'd say The Phantom Menace is more unforgivable. And the distinction between less being the worst film versus unforgivable is that when it comes to unforgivable, it's how Lucas set the tone for the rest of the prequel trilogy. And this was the film that people were anticipating so much, and how he blew everyone away in the negative sense. I think Attack of the Clones is worse, but it's not unforgivable, but mostly because it's a shame on us in that sense, because if he didn't improve on Attack of the Clones, why would we have any hope in the first place? You could even say a new hope.
Yeah, new hope.
To hope that he become a better filmmaker, but no, Attack of the Clones is really, he already got us in the crap, and he's just stamping us into it further. But The Phantom Menace, he set the stage, and he honestly could have really done it over again and really set the prequels onto a much better foundation. But no, he settled with Phantom Menace, and he proceeded from there. And that's why I think it's more unforgivable, though. Attack of the Clones is worse, but Phantom Menace, it's more unforgivable, and it's the one that I direct my anger towards.
Well, we'll get to Phantom Menace eventually. Next week,
No, I don't want to talk about Phantom. I don't want to talk about Phantom Menace.
We're going to do Attack of the Clones.
Okay, good.
We'll talk about Phantom Menace again. We're going to do Attack of the Clones, Star Wars Episode 2 next week. For my consensus, I'm going to give this I'm going to go 3 out of 10, 1.5 out of 5 stars.
Okay. I'm going to go with 2 stars out of 5, or 4 out of 10. I'm saving 1.5 stars for Attack of the Clones, even though I do love that film. But there you go. That's it. That's Star Wars: The Phantom Menace.
There we go.
And it's, I don't know, would you say it's only going to get better?
It's going to get better.
Okay.
It's going to get better.
Okay.